Welcome, everybody, to this webinar, this United Nations Innovation Network webinar with two phenomenal speakers, Alex and Nina. Alex and Nina are, Alex is the co-founder of an amazing organization called LetMeSpeak, which is a fascinating new blockchain-based learning and earning platform, which we're really fascinated about in terms of how the model actually works. Now, I have to say before we start that the United Nations Innovation Network does not endorse LetMeSpeak. We have no affiliations with LetMeSpeak at this present time, and we have invited Nina and Alex to come and present their product because we're fascinated about the kind of impact that it might have. To give you some context before we start, the United Nations Innovation Network is made up of, Johanna, myself, and a few other people who work at the intersection of the various human agencies that come together to explore how innovation can change the humanitarian world and drive impact for people all around the world. For that reason, and around that mission, we like to invite interesting organizations that are working around technology, innovation, and impact. And within the blockchain group, which I am the, what would you say, I'm kind of the chair of, we invite blockchain startups. And so I think this is a great opportunity for me to ask Alex and Nina to quickly introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about yourselves, and then Alex, if you'd like to press start on your presentation, we can kick off. If you press the slideshow button at the top there on the right hand side, there you go. It's a slideshow.
Slideshow, just 1 second.
Will be good. It might be underneath the toolbar, it might be hiding it. Next to share. Next one, on the right, next one, just right next to that slideshow. There you go. Wonderful.
Can we just go like this? Are you able to see it or not really?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's we do see all of your screen, including the tabs and other things, but it should be fine. So Nina, Alex, please feel free to take it away.
Thank you very much, Gustav and Joanna, for having us. It's a pleasure to be here. So my name is Alex Grebnev. I'm the co-founder of LetMeSpeak. I spent 15 years in investment banking at Goldman Sachs and Merrill Lynch. I got interested in blockchain technologies and their application to the real world around 5 years ago. Developed and launched decentralized finance products and mobile applications with millions of users. My co-founder has deep expertise in mobile apps and language learning, has created a number of language learning apps which scale to tens of millions of users, helping people learn English. We are a team of more than 40 people, passionate about EdTech, Web3, and philanthropy. So we are distributed and mostly based in London, Dubai. And Nina, over to you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nina Depesova. I'm a senior humanitarian leader with close to 20 years of global and field experience. I've worked in many countries on response operations from Haiti, Mali to Iraq, South Sudan, Horn of Africa. And most recently, I led public affairs for a global response to the COVID-19 pandemic in 72 countries. I am, like Alex, very passionate about empowering crisis-affected communities through innovation, blockchain, and decentralized finance. And I'm currently consulting for LetMeSpeak as the Chief of Philanthropy and Social Impact, and really look forward to this conversation and to hearing your thoughts about what we have to say. Thanks.
Wonderful. Well, go for it. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt. Yeah, I didn't know if you were going to jump straight in because I felt like there was a tragedy there, but please take it away, Alex. Take it away.
No, I'm not going to take it away from you, Gustav. We are guests here.
No, please do continue with your presentation. I apologize.
Thank you for that. So look, I would normally say that it's meant to be an interactive session. Unfortunately, the format doesn't quite allow it in just the same form that we would like it to be. However, do save your questions and you will be able to hopefully ask them after this. We prepared a short slide deck We're not going to go through all of it. I know you'll have busy days. What we're going to briefly talk through, what LetMeSpeak is, what it's all about, how it works, the results that we've seen so far in terms of how it can transform motivate kind of students' motivation and help people form useful learning habits. And then how the platform is using tech for good, and also the lessons that we've learned and are learning on the way, because a lot of things sound cool, and then kind of putting them into practice is another matter. So maybe for anyone also doing things, it's helpful to share. And then there's going to be some time for Q&A. So if we start with kind of introducing LetMeSpeak, imagine getting paid to learn a foreign language. At present, 1.4 billion people are learning English and paying $60 billion to do so. What if they could learn English and earn instead? So you might have heard about the concept of play-to-earn games on blockchain. So millions of people around the world are generating real income playing some games. So what we are doing is applying earning to learning a foreign language. And in LetMeSpeak, we combine a high-quality educational product, kind of originally a Web 2 product, with an economic layer to create a unique user experience and kind of unique way to get you going and help you form useful habits to get you to the learning outcomes that you want to get to. So we're defining a new concept of learn and earn. Let's talk a little bit about how that works. So we're already helping 2 million people improve their language for free. So the way that it works is that you download our app and start improving your English straight away. You can learn new words, improve grammar, and practice your speaking skills. Learning is 100% free. There are no paywalls, no subscriptions, and no ads. Now it's time to start earning by learning. So to do it, you first need to get an NFT character on our marketplace. And then it's really easy. You do short exercises, you get instant rewards in in-game currency directly into your digital wallet. And then you spend this currency in-game or swap it for digital dollars. The user experience is pretty simple, but under the bonnet, it's a little bit more complex. So the building blocks of the learn and earn experience are, on the one hand, the learning app, so the one that you saw a screen of, then the NFT characters and some other kind of NFTs which represent assets that are that users own. There's a decentralized marketplace on which users can buy and sell NFTs and transact in other digital assets. And then there is, of course, the in-game currencies with different functions. So the learning, kind of the reward token, and the kind of the governance token. And then it also plugs into decentralized exchange where people can exchange values. Right now, it's built on this Solana public blockchain, and it connects together all these kind of different bits with the purpose to reach to here, right? And that's where I think it starts getting kind of more even more fun. It takes us to the biggest problem of online education. This is actually my favorite graph. It shows how LetMeSpeak can be a good tool for people to form useful learning habits, and how it totally transforms our motivation to keep going, not just to start, but to keep going. And let's look at the example. So the orange line is, it kind of shows what's the chance that after you download the app day 1, that day 30, you are still using it for learning. In the context of when you've actually prepaid subscription, for exactly the same content, there is a 17% chance that you are still using the app to learn in 30 days. And that's the biggest problem. Retaining users, and that's the problem for Coursera, for Udemy, and kind of a number of others, right? And what we see with Learn and Earn is that this curve, the retention curve, is totally transformed. So increased motivation by three or kind of 3.5 times compared to people who are already kind of paying something for learning. And the intuition here is that there are some additional factors that start to go into play at the at different levels to get this. So speaking with a Stanford professor in economic development recently, and he said that he applied a similar methodology. He said, well, I'm not surprised. He said, I applied this very similar methodology in my class. He had a problem with retention. So quite a few people started the class and only a couple of people finished. So what he did, so like, okay, everyone puts in $100 at the beginning of the semester, and whoever is left at the end shares whatever kind of whatever's in the pot. And then this feeling that you can kind of lose something, or the kind of certain fear of missing out, certain kind of competitiveness, certain economic incentive, help people stay focused on getting the goal to the end of class and successfully completing that. So here, the intuition behind this, behind some of what's happening, is not dissimilar. Our approach combines essentially, on the one hand, learning and instant gratification. Very often we can learn because either we have to, because we understand we have to, or because of some delayed, because we understand that it can give us a better life in the future. But it takes a while to get there, and keeping that motivation to learn through that's what LetMeSpeak helps you do. So when you combine instant rewards for every little bit of learning, then all of a sudden that can transform and make this kind of transform your motivation to learn, and can help you get there to the outcomes that you want with higher probability, and makes it makes it more fun as well. So what we find is that people who are kind of doing learning on go through the Learn and Earn experience, they're actually spending 3 times the amount of time compared to people who are not kind of paying to participate. The bigger picture is that we've, as we mentioned, more than 2 million people have used it. We've helped more than 2 million people to improve their English since the start, and last month alone, roughly 700,000 people used the app, and we've been very fortunate with being able to scale that relatively fast, and I think we can 10 times that, and actually potentially 50 times that over a relatively short time period. Nina?
Thanks, Alex. So let me just take everything that Alex has said and put a little bit into context of philanthropy and social impact. So obviously, we've all just been through a massive pandemic, and COVID-19 has really wiped out decades of progress towards reducing poverty. And in many countries around the world, children have missed out on absolutely years of learning. At LetMeSpeak, we really believe in equitable growth and the right to education for all. So our application provides a very innovative digital on-the-go solution for acquiring English language skills and fostering continued learning and upskilling. So moreover, we've added the earning component that Alex spoke about, and therefore the app can have an ability to provide people not only with continuous learning in a digital context, but also improve their livelihoods because they're earning, and foster financial inclusion. So we're very passionate about contributing to the SDGs, And in particular to 3, we think our application has the possibility to help reduce poverty, really give access to better quality education, and reduce people's inequalities. So maybe just going on to the next slide and putting this into a little bit of a context, as Alex has said, 2 million people are already using our application. But what's really interesting is to see the geographic distribution of where that's happening. And it is fascinating to see that some of the highest user numbers that we have actually happen to be in countries with the highest levels of inequality and poverty. And therefore, we really truly believe that the social impact of the application is quite naturally already being seen by people. And we are really excited about that. And we hope to scale that as much as possible. And maybe just one thing to say about that is we have also seen that the solution can potentially be quite interesting to specific vulnerable groups. And we're thinking of women and girls in this context because they are often left behind when it comes to continued education and access to livelihoods. So we want to use our platform to inspire people to give and to give that quality education to others. And we've set ourselves some pretty ambitious goals. And in 3 years, we hope to have 1.1 billion worth of donations to help us improve livelihoods of people through English learning. And the way that we see this work is, of course, very similar to the 1, 2, 3 steps explained by Alex before. But in the philanthropic context, it's more looking at the idea of supporting people through sponsorship. So enabling others to give the gift of learning to those that they care about and empower them. And this would simply be done by gifting an NFT to your friends or your family, indeed your community, wherever they are. And you could also support projects on a larger scale through what we're calling a grant fund by simply choosing a location or a community where we work with our partners. And we would make sure that that donation of sponsorship is absolutely maximized, because it will be given directly through our application. So in essence, whoever is learning and investing their time in doing so will be able to see instant rewards in their app in digital dollars. And there is a guarantee of an instant payout for their efforts. So we certainly believe in collaboration. We think that it's absolutely key to accelerating impact, and that's why we really want to partner with like-minded organizations that have a lot of experience of working with vulnerable groups, and think that our application can provide people in need and empower them with what they're looking for. So education, life skills, livelihoods, and of course, dignity, most of all. So let me tell you a little bit about how this is working already. So most recently, we have done a Learn and On program with Iraqi refugees in Jordan. Mainly they're young women, and we partnered with a small local NGO that was already delivering a number of skills building programs, where they had a group of refugees that was really looking to learn English and earn a livelihood. So most of the refugees that participated, they're actually seeking asylum. Many of them have applications that are going through right now. Some of them waited for 7 to 10 years for these. And they're looking forward to going to Canada and Australia. And they were really interested in learning English so they could better integrate into their communities, but also earn an income so they could support their families. So the program ran for 2 months, and on average, each refugee earned about 45 US digital dollars per person. And let me just give you an example of the fact that a maximum that they could earn per month was 54. So essentially, it already shows you, and based on the feedback of the refugees that we were working with, that the motivation factor to be learning was quite significant. and they nearly maxed out the earnings that they could receive in that period of time. And they were very happy with both their learning progress and what they earned. So maybe just a few words about another program that we have in Brazil. That one is with Venezuelan refugees and migrants. And it's actually part of our corporate partnership with a large telecoms company called Cytel. And we have about 60 Cytel staff who are participating in English skills development program that is being provided by Cytel to their employees. And 20% of the participants are Venezuelan refugees that are working with Cytel already. And Cytel decided that they really wanted to include them in the upskilling program. And we were working hard with them to help them do that. So that program is ongoing. It's structured slightly differently. I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have them later. But just to let you know that those two programs are running. So maybe a few last words to talk about measuring impact, which we think is, of course, incredibly important. And everyone would want to know how effective this is. So LetMeSpeak already can provide what we would call micro measures of how much time people are spending on their learning, how much their motivation is increasing compared to those who might be using a similar application when the prescription or for free, as Alex has shared, but also how much they're earning for their efforts too. So we are working towards making these kind of reports available to people who are sponsoring and supporting others, so that you can also see how the learn and earn approach is really improving people's motivation to learn, but also supporting their livelihoods as well. And one of the things that we've discussed in the past, and I think it would be really great to hear your thoughts on this as a group of people that understands a lot about what it takes to actually change someone's life to truly reduce poverty or improve quality education or have other measurable outcomes, is to see if we can use LetMeSpeak and see if it can make changes also at a macro level. And potentially, if LetMeSpeak Earn and Earn is available, if it could influence families' decisions to keep children learning, or whether introducing LetMeSpeak into existing education programs can improve retention of students at school or to prevent dropout. And indeed, and this is quite ambitious, but something I'm quite passionate about, whether LetMeSpeak could help reduce child labor and even reduce child marriage because of that livelihoods component, and that really give people an opportunity to continue their education as well as bring an income and put food on the table for their families. So I'll leave it there and hand over back to Alex.
Thank you. So everyone is learning in Web3 space, and that's what makes it exciting and challenging at the same time. So there is a long way to go for mass adoption. These technologies can be very useful, but there's a lot of things to overcome to make these really widespread. So, and I think there are several key things to our mind, the things that we need to think about kind of every day and going forward as we set ourselves the goal of reaching 1 billion people with what we are doing. And I just wanted to take the opportunity to go through this with you, so that to create some awareness of things, and maybe it's helpful for anyone who is thinking of doing it also. So in the first instance, it's familiarity. It's familiarity of users with anything kind of blockchain related. Right now, the barrier to entry for people to start doing things is still basically, well, there is a learning curve to go through. So whether it's setting up wallets or doing kind of transactions, kind of buying kind of Solana to enable various transactions. So I think it's not a problem for users. It actually should be a problem for us to solve. And so what we are focusing on is creating an experience which requires zero blockchain knowledge to learn, earn, and to enable learning, earning, and spending. and I think we are making quite good progress there. So second is the underlying technology, the infrastructure itself. It hasn't fully been tested at the scales at which we want to do things at. So when we think about Web 2 and kind of, I guess, the web where billions of people using it every day, with blockchain, if you look at Binance Chain, for example, the 1 to 2 million daily active users. That's a relatively small number compared to the more relatively modest increasing number, but increasing number compared to where we need to get to. So technology, but mine, I think that certain technologies need to kind of evolve a little bit for to really allow for things for billion people to happen. But I think it's definitely going to get there. Then there is the kind of general communication issue. So there's a lot of noise. There used to be a lot more surrounding crypto related things. And one needs to distinguish blockchain and crypto and can distinguish volatility from kind of enablement of certain use cases, whether it's efficient distribution of aid, whether it's making certain financial transactions a lot more efficient versus kind of the speculation element of it. But I think over time that noise will subside. Fourthly, it's around the reaching the last mile. And it starts with connectivity. So we presuppose that there is connectivity, there is internet. And second is that normal supposition is that there is a device, ideally a mobile device. So what we are doing, what we've done so far already, we've released the web version. So even if you don't have a mobile, you have kind of some sort of access to an internet cafe anywhere, even if you don't have a mobile phone, you are able to benefit from the learn and earn experience with LetMeSpeak. And then there is I guess the bigger picture, the low level of adoption of blockchain technologies or familiarity with blockchain technology amongst partners. And that's why it's incredibly helpful, Gustav, and incredibly thankful to you and Joanna for inviting us on this webinar, which hopefully goes a long way towards increasing awareness, showing the opportunities in terms of what we can do together, and then taking the first step to actually making it happen. I do think that it's about doing, it's not about talking. And I think the little project, these projects that we've started by doing, I think the results are very encouraging. And I think we can do massively more together. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. It's amazing work you've done. Thank you so much for sharing your progress and your platform. We already have a few questions coming in, but before we get into the questions, I just wanted to ask, you can stop sharing your screen at this point and we can just bring ourselves onto the spotlight. So the first question I had, and I think, it's one that might set the scene for the rest of the conversation, which is, in your words, how would you describe what Web3 actually is? Because you were using Web3 quite a lot towards the end of the presentation. What exactly is Web3?
Great question. I think to me, it's a new paradigm which enables, which gives more power to users, right? So it enables one to own part of whatever you are using, right? Own the assets, the in-game assets, share the benefits of whatever is being created through an ecosystem. And it's a move towards a much more inclusive, much more many-to-many connections and experiences than the world has been and is so far. So if you imagine I think a famous language learning app, Duolingo, you can use paid subscription, you get experience, here you go, right? And then that's the end of that. Whereas what we've done is added a totally different dimension in terms of how people, in terms of how the community of users, they're also part of owners of the ecosystem. They are controlling, for example, the creation of new characters, right? They are themselves doing that, and it's kind of it's a world of its own, right? So the Web3 technology is a set of things which enables to happen these things. So, but I agree with you. I think that different people mean totally different things for kind of by this.
Yeah, and there's a lot of new technologies coming out that may or may not contribute to such a vision. So we have many questions coming in from our attendees. So I'd like to invite someone up. I'm going to invite Masamba to come and speak. Sorry, I can't even speak English, so it's a challenge. So I'm going to invite Masamba up to ask her question about the business model, which is quite interesting, about how do you actually make money if you're paying users. Masamba?
Thank you so much. Can you guys hear me okay?
We can hear you perfectly, mate.
Thank you. So I'm Masamba, and I'm based in Panama for the UNICEF regional office. Thank you for this interesting webinar. I've been reading about Web3 lately. And that same question popped in my head every time. I see the huge potential impact for anyone that will wish to be part of an ecosystem. And I see that it's also giving parts of the rights to the users, to the people who are going to use this, to learn, to play, and giving them the chance to earn. But using the maxim that nothing in life is free, right? There's no such thing as a free lunch, right? So how do organizations that work so hard in these technologies that are so advanced and availing it, right, hoping to make money, hoping to make something sustainable out of it? Thank you so much for the opportunity to ask a question. Over.
Maybe I should take it. So Masamba, thank you very much. I think it's a great question. And I think I would say that there are two parts to that. If I were asking the same question, I would ask kind of two questions in one, two separate questions. I'm going to do that for you. So I think one is how, kind of when people earn something, right? So how do what do they earn, and can they earn more than they put in? And then that's one question. And then second question is, well, for kind of, it's exactly the question Masamba asked. Well, how do we as kind of LetMeSpeak make money, right? And maybe I'll start with the second one first, which is the original question which Masamba asked. The whole paradigm is kind of in Web3 is a bit different, right? So if in the normal world you say, okay, here's a company, it's producing a service, there's demand for the service, you provide it, if you deliver value and capture some of it, if you deliver value and the value that people are willing to pay for, and then you capture some of it, so here is the equity value of a corporation. In the kind of Web3 world, and then the whole paradigm of how you think about things in the network, you think about networks, not companies. So you think about, setting up a set of interactions that people can have, right? And distributed ownership of this ecosystem. And once the ecosystem is live and things are happening, so we have, so a team has certain portion of, a minority portion of ownership of that ecosystem, which has value. So it's the ecosystem you develop, not companies, ecosystem networks, and owning part of these network governance, having some governance tokens over these networks can have value, assuming the value that we are creating for or enabling kind of to be created through networks is there. If it's not there, then it's not worth much. So that's the first question. So the second question, which I kind of brought onto myself, is kind of how do users make money? So yeah, bought an NFT, then I'm kind of learning and earning, and I make more. And the answer is yes. What you do was you're learning in game. So you're earning in-game currency. which you can then exchange, maybe able to exchange for digital dollars. So then can you earn more than you put in? And the answer is yes. And what's the intuition behind that? And intuitionally, I would like to go back to exactly the motivational slide that I talked on, the example of the Stanford professor. So when everyone at the beginning was putting $100 in, like if it's 10 people putting $100 in, you get the $1,000 in there. And if half of people finished, right? So everyone would then get $200, right, at the end. So all of a sudden you put 100 in, you get 200 out, right? So here the whole kind of intuition around kind of how LetMeSpeak works is around redistribution of that access value. So some people study well, sometimes people study less well, right? We saw that the retention is 60%, but not 100%, right? So some people pay and kind of it's like gym membership. Some people pay and only a lot of people pay and very few, well, a few people is going to turn up. So here, what we're basically taking that access value and redistributing it to people to inspire creating good habits. Hopefully, we're creating positive loop this way.
I have a question quickly, just to build on what Masamba asked. When you say access value, what do you actually mean?
What I mean is this is the following. So if I just take you back to the if I take you back to the kind of Stanford professor example, right? So if you're putting $100 in, right, and there are 10 people in your class, so there's $1,000 altogether in the pot. So 50% of people actually kind of finish the class, right? So there's basically the access value is $500 from the people who didn't finish. Right?
Access, okay.
So yeah, access. So that $500 is then distributed somehow. Well, in this kind of Stanford professor example, is distributed equally amongst everyone, right? So the better, more consistent students and the kind of the ones to reach a certain outcome get more than they kind of they return. If everyone is very super good, fantastic, everyone's learned, right? And everyone gets money back. So.
And building on that, then, yeah, that does make sense. But then, how do you pay your bills as a company? Because I mean, it sounds to me like you're not a quote unquote decentralized autonomous organization, building on your on a base token. Yeah, like many decentralized many DAOs. I'm curious to know, as an organization yourselves, how are you paying your bills?
So I think it's a combination of things. So A, self-fund, and B, we have a Silicon Valley EdTech specialized VCs sponsoring not sponsoring, but investing in what we are doing. Second is that kind of going back to owning part of the governance over the ecosystem, which we are creating, where there's kind of with the goal being there being listed value in that token ecosystem around this. So having a part of the kind of owning part of the network enables us to raise a certain amount of money from sale of certain part of the ecosystem and raise money this way enough for development, right? And that's enough. And then we basically the value that we create ultimately for ourselves depends on how much value we create for others and how successful the ecosystem is. And and the whole point about what you're doing is that everyone's interest is super aligned. So our interests are aligned with the user's interests, and yeah.
Cool, interesting. Yeah, I think Masamba has a follow-up question. Then I'll invite somebody else up to come and ask another question.
Happy to follow up, by the way, after the webinar too, Masamba. Always wants to go to Panama.
Oh, great!
Yeah.
You are most welcome. So this is not a follow-up question, though. It's just a thank you. I think I get it. Even though there is a part of how do you say? There is a part of that is quite hopeful, if I can use that term, in the sense that you wish to align the company's interest to the user's interest, which is kind of revolutionary. You know, I come from Africa, and from Africa, we have in several African nations, we have that system where a group of women come together and put some money in a pot, right? And with the assumption that not all of them will use that money at the same time, it creates value, and that ecosystem can kind of grow and grow bigger and bigger, right? And the money can be used like in a rotating basis, if you will. I think it's a bit similar to that idea. And what I understand is that, you know, the more the ecosystem grows, the more value can be imputed to that ecosystem, right? So that's my understanding for now. And thank you for responding to that. Over.
Absolutely. And for anyone, by the way, who wants to learn more, I think very soon in the next day or two, we're going to publish the official kind of white paper. So for anyone curious to learn more and get answers to some of these questions and actually a lot more and learn more detail, you know, very welcome to read it, and happy to have any further follow-up chats.
Awesome.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
Let me invite Raunak up to speak. He's got quite a few questions, so it's be quite interesting to see to hear his thoughts. Let me just quickly grab him and invite him up. Hello, Raunak.
Hi, Gustav. Thank you so much. Yeah, no, just very quickly, just if I could club a couple of questions. This is Raunak from the World Bank Innovation Team. So the first question is, I think, which piggybacks on the idea of business model and how some of the mechanics work. So was curious if you could speak a little bit about the LMS NFT characters and what their role is in this ecosystem. Based on what you're describing, would it be fair to call the mechanics in some form of zero-sum game? Not all the users are winning in this ecosystem. Would it be fair to put it like that? And does it also require for the platform to continuously bank on increasing number of users to come in, so that the mechanics is distributed and the payouts can be distributed to the users who are learning? So that was the first bit. And the second bit was on the L stars. So is there any other utility of L stars token besides being converted into USDCs? And based on your experiences, because you mentioned about Iraq and Venezuela, like how are people getting converted from USDC to or cashing out from USDCs? And is there any challenge on that front?
Wonderful, all wonderful questions. I think sometimes one gets a feeling that someone else knows you better than you know yourself. Look, I think on a more serious note, if I can actually start from the kind of kind of last question about L stars, the whole point about L stars. So L stars, just for everyone's benefit, this is the it's a reward currency for learning. So after every little exercise, you get instant reward every few minutes, and the form which it takes, it's in L stars. Now, what can you do with L stars, and what utility is there? So its primary utility is that it's the what can you do with it? So you can participate and enable other things in the game. And so the kind of the main thing right now, it's you can actually create so-called invite new characters into the game. So for example, if you have two characters, you can invite a third one, right? So rather than buying it in the in the marketplace. There are also quite a few other utilities. So you're paying, for example, for visa extension and other things in game with L stars. And yes, the currency itself is freely transferable. That's part of the kind of Web3 experience. And yes, there are kind of outside markets, decentralized markets, where you can exchange the kind of L stars for USDC. Now, that's the utility part. In terms of kind of cashing out, the cashing out part, I think we can talk a little bit more about the experience in Jordan. Of course, as we mentioned, there are frictions around certain experiences, kind of paying out and converting things to kind of real world value is part of that at the moment. So what we are working on is, and maybe next time I can show you, I can have a separate call, I can show you, where we've created a wallet which connects your USDC wallet with a MasterCard with Apple Pay directly, so that anyone who has a mobile phone, Apple Pay and Google Pay, can actually spend either L-stars, by the way, or USDC in real world. So you can learn language and then you can go to, be it Starbucks or local cafe or whatever, and make use of that money. We are over time going to provide different payout options, whether it's payment to cards, payment to bank accounts, and so on. But it's again, it's optional. It's up to you whether you want to use those or not. We are just there to help you make as good use of it as possible. So does that answer the kind of the third of your three questions?
Yeah.
Cool. So the second, I realized I'm going kind of backwards. You touched on a very good, on a kind of very interesting point. It's a point about sustainability, right? So are you relying? So one of the question from when are you relying on consistent user growth for the system to work? And the short answer is not really, and I'll explain why. Recently, as I mentioned, there is a so the intuition behind how it works and why it works is the redistribution of value. So for some people, the redistribution of value is such that better learners or people with better kind of learning habits and kind of people who are making progress do better in this environment, and that happens, yes, at the expense of people who are inconsistent in their motivation for whatever reason. So this is the world that people either want to join and play, and that's part of working on yourself and against some of be it laziness or be it some kind of difficulties that you may have in life. So from this perspective, so we think a lot about sustainability. We've written separate Medium articles about how to exactly about this point. I think ultimately it ends up about being kind of to make sure that people are there for learning English, which is a large part, right? So that they get the key value, the improvement in their English, improvement in their quality of life as a result of that. And then, yes, there is the economic part, which can change your kind of brain's neuroplasticity, which is another thing, by the way, which we are discussing with Stanford professor of neuroscience in terms of how the outside rewards help you become kids again and learn much faster, right? So that's on the sustainability part. If you want to learn more, I invite you to do two things. So one is go through the white paper when we publish it in the next day or so, and two is read the Medium article. So kind of from the zero-sum game example, I think it's the thing is that it's about ecosystem growing, right? An ecosystem developing as opposed to one-time exchange. So I think it's a little bit more complex than zero-sum. And I think it's important, I would say, to take into account the kind of what we are doing together with the impact that we are helping make on people's lives and the kind of what learning. I mean, if you look at Harvard professors, and I think actually the professor of development as well, has shown that if we help people teach teach people, if we teach people English, we give them partly financial freedom and ability to give them better opportunities in life. So when you think about zero-sum game as a whole, together with the educational impact, together with the return that they will get on their kind of education, I think it's important to look at the equation as a whole. And I think, to me, it's not a zero-sum game, and that's why I think the sustainability, that's the exciting part, and that's why I think we can scale it in a very different way compared to normal kind of or play to earn, where kind of you earn money playing games. Because there is a real world impact on your life from what you're doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's interesting, and really excited to go and read the white paper to see how I could learn more.
Happy to follow up after.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm curious, you've been using the word ecosystem often. And I'm going to be the annoying person to ask, what do we mean when you say ecosystem? Like, ecosystem could mean anything in today's world.
I'm glad you asked. I'm glad you asked this stuff. I was waiting for this question.
Yeah. You were baiting me. You were baiting me. That's what
I would be offended if you didn't ask that. So look, mean a number of different things. Part of the vision, which we haven't actually spoken about here of LetMeSpeak, is that it is a language learning metaverse. And what we mean by that is kind of it's an open ecosystem where you can have a number of different experiences. So it starts off with a LetMeSpeak and connects very kind of many different people for different reasons, and they all kind of enter various peer-to-peer relationships and relationships kind of with the kind of learning providers kind of over time. So we are going to so it's not about the first experience is the LetMeSpeak experience. So it took a couple of years kind of to develop that high quality game to help people learn English. There are going to be other experiences like language exchange, right? So you press a button, you start speaking to someone. Oh, let me practice what I've learned. Oh, have I actually learned anything, right? And there are on the one hand the experience, the language experience. On the other hand, there's some kind of economic drivers or some distribution of value that have kind of around that. A very popular thing is the things around tutoring. There could be tutoring marketplaces, right? Because all of a sudden you have a network of people who really want to learn English and who know how to speak it. And then when I talk about ecosystem, I mean a kind of a combination of all of these different things, or what it becomes over time. So and it's to start with, it's LetMeSpeak, it's decentralized exchange, it's a decentralized marketplace, it's it's I guess token equity incentive systems, and then there's going to be many new experiences and the users that are around, and hopefully some of the World Bank and UN agencies. So.
Well, we'll find out. Well, we'll wait and see for that one. I want to invite Valentin. Valentin just raised his hand. So I'm going to invite Valentin to come and ask a question. Wait, let me go hunt him down. There we go. Allowed to talk. Valentin, welcome. Feel free to come and ask your question, sir.
Hi, Gustav. Can you hear me?
We can hear you perfectly.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Alex and Nina, for the presentation. Really interesting. I'm Valentin from the Climate Technology Center Network, also a UN agency under UNEP. I have several questions, some follow-up questions on answers that you've already provided. So I try to break down things in an easy and a bit more simple manner for myself sometimes. So the first one is everything is around learn and earn. So the core is to incentivize learning through earning, as far as I understood it. And this sounds like, for me, kind of an outcome-based scholarship in a way. And my question is, why do you need blockchain for this transaction? That's the first question. Second question is, again, following up on the value creation. As far as I understood it now, the value is created through an increase of the community, basically. The bigger the community, the more value the whole platform has, in a way, as far as I understood it. So it sounds like kind of monetizing like an immaterial good or something that before a company wasn't able to monetize. So I'm just really wondering how this value is, or whether this is correct in terms of value creation. And the third question is, again, on the revenue model. You spoke, I think, Nina, you spoke at some point about philanthropy and getting basically revenue through philanthropists. And then later, Alex, you spoke about value creation for them. So putting in $100 and receiving $200. So is it really philanthropy money then? Is the donor receiving money at the end, or is the learner only receiving money at the end? So yeah, please do questions. Thanks.
Thank you very much. And these are all fantastic questions, and really appreciate you really thinking about what we're saying. So it's a real pleasure. Let me start with the last question first. I think it's important to distinguish about kind of technology in terms of the learning, the incentives, how that part works, and with NFTs, tokens, and so on. I guess, call it commercial part, right? Or just kind of fully designed to work, and the philanthropic, and this technology, similar technology, used for philanthropic purposes. And I'd say that these are two different things. So what we described in the presentation around, you buy an NFT, you then have certain distributions, redistributions. We described how the commercial part of it works. Now, the philanthropic part, the way that it works is that, as you said, there is a donor. Donor wants to contribute $100 to someone's learning and earning, right? So someone's learning English. But you have two choices. You can either kind of give that $100 to that person and hope that he or she goes and learns the language, or you can say, look, you put $100 in escrow. Then there is something that monitors that, kind of every day or every second as that person progresses, and that there is progress, something, the impact that you want to achieve with your $100 is happening, and then that actually happens. And so here in the latter case, the technology and the Web3 technology, it kind of is extremely helpful, right? Because it makes the distribution of because what we help achieve here are you got instant distribution of funds, right? Because it can send value instantly and without any friction, compared to making bank transfers, a number of other things, right? That's one. You can have measurable impact from the $100 that you put in. You can actually have progress report. Look, this lady kind of from Iraq in Jordan learned X words. She's improved her kind of her language skills this way, and this is where your $100 has gone, right? So you can make it a lot more measurable. It's a lot more, it kind of works at scale, yeah, I think it's much more scalable. I think, Nina, do you have anything to add to this point? And then I'll address the others.
Just before Nina, you jump in.
Yes, I think there's also something.
Ooh, a little bit of delay there. I just wanted to say we have 2 minutes left, so we might not be able to get to all the questions, or if you can quickly answer those questions, Alex, that would be great. But Nina, feel free to come in and close. Sorry, to come in and answer the question. I just wanted to give us a time check that we only have 2 minutes left for the webinar.
Very disciplined. I love it.
Okay, sorry guys. Hopefully with a little bit of delay, you can still hear me. So maybe just to say also that there is also an aspect of transparency there, of literally seeing how your donations are making a difference in real time. And I think there was also a question around why do we need blockchain. I think that's actually a pretty critical part. And I think Alex, of course, can expand more on that. But when you start adding the digital wallet, the MasterCard, the ability to pay, that all comes together. And that is part of the process. And indeed, you could also look at blockchain from the perspective of the data that's being collected and how safely it is being done. So I think that also plays a significant role in the context of Iraqi refugees, for example. All we asked for is an email that they could have, created just for the purposes of learning on our application. We didn't ask for any more details. And then based on the email they gave us, we generated a safe password for them. Yeah, thanks.
Just to add to your other, and I think we're probably run out of time, right? But I think as far as blockchain, I think if you think about redistribution of values at scale and and enable peer-to-peer, many-to-many connections amongst all users in one, rather than going through a centralized place. I don't think there are too many things that can enable that to happen. And give that kind of level of scalability and this kind of speed of adoption.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Alex. Thank you, Valentin, for your final question there. I have so many more questions about how LetMeSpeak works and, all the ramifications of learn to earn models and how we can actually get these types of models to people who don't have access to Apple Pay and Google Pay and, bank accounts and MasterCards and so on and so forth. People who really need to learn other languages or need to earn a living wage to support their livelihoods. So very, very excited to see how your project develops and especially how the philanthropic elements extend as well. But that does conclude our webinar. I'm very grateful for the time that you've contributed to the United Nations Innovation Network, to the blockchain group. Very excited to have so many familiar names part of our really very engaged and really enthusiastic audience. Some of whom I'll be reaching out to. It's very cool to see Raunak and David Saunders and Valentin yourself joining us today. I might reach out to you at some point in the future as we're looking at future visions about how the UN can better use blockchain technologies, which is a project we're looking to take on. But on that note, Alex, Nina, thank you so much for taking the time. Very grateful for your presentation and for answering so many questions. If anybody does have any questions that they'd like to forward on to Alex and Nina, please feel free to email blockchain@uninnovation.network. And I'll forward those emails on to Alex and Nina for them to get back to you. Thank you so much again.
Thank you all very much. Thank you for having us. It's been a great pleasure.
Everyone. Thanks.